Hello and welcome to my teaching world. My name's Gleice and I am from Brazil. This is my first video on a series of videos I'm going to be recording about approaches and methods in ELT. The main purpose of this video is to offer you an insight into the evolution of ELT, which means English Language Teaching. And on this first video, I'm going to start with the grammar translation method. The field of ELT, English Language Teaching, is dynamic and changing. Identifying successful ways to teach English is a problem-solving mission. Throughout the past century, many people have sought to identify an ideal approach to language learning. From these efforts, new ideas emerge and influence how people teach English. In the process, less effective approaches and methods are modified and replaced by those that seem to work better. Well, I could say that the practices that we observe today are the culmination of decades of linguistic and psychological research, innovation, and classroom application. Over the ages, people studied languages, primarily Greek and Latin, in order to read classical texts. For this reason, the type of instruction was known as the classical method. Once it began to be used with modern language instruction in the early 19th century, it was referred to as grammar translation. However, even for use in foreign language teaching, the emphasis was placed on literature and intellectual development, not on communication using a target language. Well, of course, we have to consider that few people then, compared to today, were in a position to use or to need a foreign language in their everyday lives. So here are some characteristics of this traditional method. Most instruction is in the student's native language. Vocabulary is learned through lists of isolated words. Teachers give long explanations of complex grammatical forms. Language instruction is seen as a set of rules. Students often work with very challenging texts in the target language. There is little focus on the meaning of texts. Translation of isolated sentences. Pronunciation is not taught. So in a typical grammar translation lesson, the teacher might begin writing rules on the board and explaining them in language 1. Then, students are told to read a text and underline all the examples of that structure that are on the text. After that, teacher can ask them to write all the examples on the board and then translate every sentence into their native language. Afterwards, students can receive a list of new words and their translation. Finally, they practice translating more sentences using the new structure and vocabulary. Homework would probably involve learning the new rules and words for a short test the next day. I have talked to many teachers and watched many classes, and many of them believe that at times, within the framework of more communicative language teaching, grammar translation ideas can still be used. Like, for example, providing students with simple grammar charts and then guiding them to a communicative situation. Another thing we have discussed a lot among teachers is the use of language 1 in the classroom. As a teacher, what do you think? What do you believe? I'm going to give you 4 reasons to use language 1 in the classroom. 1. To explain rules in the beginning of the year. 2. To point out cognates and false cognates. 3. Just in case you need to compare and contrast grammar, structure and use. For example, she is eating, in Portuguese, ela está comendo, and in Spanish, está comiendo. Number 4 is the most important one for me, that is to offer guidance to a student when they appear confused or when you failed explaining a grammar structure, for example. So that was the grammar translation method. If you want to learn more about methods and approaches, this is an awesome book. It's Primary Methodology Handbook by Richmond. It comes with a CD. It's an awesome book. I hope to see you on my next video. Don't forget, teacher, be amazing.